Hello YouTube, this is Mr. Shining Time. I'm making this video. I'm at school right now. It's in the morning. I was watching a video this morning about some of the things going on in the world, and I had to make this video before I went off to class because I wanted to get my thoughts down while they're still fresh in my head. You know, as I was driving to school today, gas prices reached over $4 for the first time in my state. $4 for the first time in a while, in a long time. And it seems like the gas prices are only going to go up from here, especially as now that summer is approaching, summer driving season. Demand for gas is going to tick up. You know, and seeing that and watching that video on YouTube this morning inspired me to make this video. And I think about the subject that I want to talk about in this video, and that is this whole thing about the black community and trying to get everyone on the same page. And you know, you got guys like Mr. Holipsism talking about Pan-Africanism and nation building here in the United States. And I think sometimes people don't understand what is the purpose of all this. And the root purpose of nation building and having an organized community, a community that supports one another, the purpose of that is survival. That's what the purpose is. In the coming years and decades ahead, with the energy crisis, the oil crunch, so on and so forth, if we don't have an organization, an organized community, if we don't have some kind of structure to preserve ourselves, to ensure our own interests, then we're not going to make it. It's as simple as that. Black people are not going to make it in this country. And you know, Prophet of Doom, I've been watching a couple of his videos, and he says, I mean, he makes some good points in his videos. You know, the Emancipation Proclamation, that's just a piece of paper. They can rip that shit up, and you can go right back to being a slave. You know, human beings, we are not fallen angels, in the words of Carl Sagan. We are not fallen angels. We are ascended apes. Our social behavior is no different from that of the apes that live in the forest and in the jungles in Africa. These apes, you see, they preserve themselves by building strong clans, and they go to war with other clans to preserve the limited resources of the forest. And human beings are just like this, but on a larger scale. When the resources become scarce, people will go to war in order to preserve those resources, to protect their own interests, to ensure their own survival. And this is the mentality that black people need to have. A mentality of survival. Because we don't have that mentality. We've become a welfare people. And I don't mean welfare in the sense of relying on the government, but I mean we've become an entitled people. We are expecting things. We feel like we are entitled to reparations and all of that shit. No, you're not entitled to anything. And we need to realize this. This is about self-preservation. Build strong communities, support one another. You know, I was asking myself this morning, I was thinking about this, because I am trying to read more African literature. And I was asking myself, why is it that African Americans in this country are always focused on guilt-tripping people about slavery? I think the more important question to be asked is, why were our ancestors enslaved in the first place? That is the more important question. Because if we don't understand the answer to that question, then we're going to go right back into slavery. And the reason why our ancestors were enslaved is because the Europeans that enslaved them had superior technology, superior arms. They were more organized, more united. They were able to convince Africans to sell themselves into slavery. Who do you think it was going out into the jungle and into the bush and raiding villages and capturing African slaves and selling them to Europeans? It was other Africans. You see, they set up a few people in power, and then those people, those Africans in power, sold their brothers into slavery for whatever money or price, or however they were chosen. They were compensated by the European slave traders. And we need to understand this. If we don't have the power to preserve ourselves, then we're going to be conquered again. And we're going to go right back into slavery again. Why do you think it is that Iran wants nuclear weapons so badly? They don't want nuclear weapons necessarily to plunge the world into nuclear war, as the American media loves to try to portray Iran as, that they're going to get nuclear weapons and suddenly they're going to start a nuclear world war. No. I believe Iran wants nuclear weapons to maintain the balance of power in the world, to make it so they can't be bullied by the likes of Europe and America, and most importantly, Israel. And I support them having nuclear weapons. They should have them. Why shouldn't they? So many other countries have them. So many nations in Europe have them. Why can't they have them? This is the same exact rhetoric they'll use against an African nation. When an African nation wants nuclear weapons, suddenly the leader of that nation is going to be some kind of crazy rogue general or something. They'll try to demonize this person. Well, anyway, the point of this video is that all this pro-black support one another talk is not so we can hold hands and kumbaya and make it into heaven and live happily ever after. No, it's about self-preservation. It's about ensuring that your children have an opportunity to grow up. It's about ensuring that your mothers and your daughters and your sisters aren't sold off into the sex trade. Oh yeah, read that. Go look that up. In New Orleans in antebellum had a bustling slave trade, sex slaves, where mulatto women would be sold into sex slavery so that white men could have sex with them and fulfill their sick little fantasies. That's what was going on during that time. Look that up, read it. You don't hear about that, do you? You see, America is a sick nation, you understand? It was founded by sick people. People who failed to realize the irony of fighting for their own freedom while enslaving others. And if we don't learn to be strong, if we don't learn to empower ourselves, then we're going to go right back to that. Those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it. Isn't that what they say? This YouTube thing is good because it encourages me, it encourages other African American males out there to get the message out, to try to educate our people on some small level, on some grassroots level that can hopefully change our consciousness. And there is a lot of conscious YouTube users who are African American males, a lot of them, and I'm proud to see so many African American males who see through the bullshit, who see through the propaganda and the nonsense that goes on in this country that tries to keep black people in mental shackles, keep the wool over our eyes. You know, I've made this video is getting a little bit long, and I just want to wrap it up. You know, it's about self-preservation. That's what the whole thing is about. Trying to protect our own interests. Because if we're weak, if we become a people that relies on handouts, then there's no reason why you should be free. If you can't defend yourself, then you shouldn't procreate. your line should die off. And only the strong will survive. That's how it is in nature. Nature is an indifferent, cruel mistress. If you're not strong enough, then you simply be wiped out by those who are strong enough. That's all I gotta say. Thanks for listening.